Hi guys, welcome back to Somersetpiggies. In today's video I'm going to be showing you good and bad cages. So good hamster cages and bad hamster cages. Hamster cages should be at least 450 square inches of floor space. If you cannot provide this, then you're better off not getting a hamster. But I think this one's like 600 and something square inches of floor space, and you can kind of get the temperament of this. So I guess let's just get started. I'm going to be rating all of the cages out of 10, and all the cages are from Zooplus. So they're all easy to access. On that, I'm going to be rating as many cages as I possibly can from Zooplus. They're usually quite decent sized cages, but hopefully in upcoming videos I'll be able to do this again and show you even more cages. First cage is called I don't know how to pronounce the first one, SAVIC, I don't want to pronounce it wrong. Small pet cage habitat extra large. The dimension of this is, the width is 70, the depth is 37, and the height is 51. So I would say it's a pretty deep cage. I'd say it's mainly for some kind of gerbil or a hamster that really likes to dig. And it comes with a food bowl, water bottle, and plastic tunnels. So that's pretty decent. I rate this cage, depending on the small animal you'd put in there, I'm going to particularly go for a hamster, and I'd say this is a 5 out of 10, just because it doesn't provide enough floor space for how much the hamster needs. But apart from that, it's a great cage for gerbils, but I wouldn't really recommend it for hamsters. So I forgot to say how much the last cage was. It's $59.99, so it's still a very decent price. So the second cage is the Skylar Barney pet cage, and the dimensions of this is 100, its length is 100, width is 54, and height is 45. So it's an okay size. It's very long, it's actually longer than this cage. I would say that's a decent size cage. I know this one is the smaller one of the next cage that I'm going to be doing in just a minute. It's the smaller version, or not as high or something like that. But this cage costs, I think it is $59.99, so £60, same as the last one. I'd rate this cage maybe a 7 out of 10 to 7.5, as I still think this is a decent size cage and a decent amount of money. So the next cage is the Skylar Alexandra small pet cage. I don't know if you guys know, but Teddy's just gone back to sleep, so I won't disturb him. And this dimensions of this cage is, length is 101, so it's slightly longer than the other one. The width is 52.5 and the height is 51 centimeters. So I think it's around about the same height and width and length, apart from it's 1 centimeter extra, but this has got the shelves in it, as you can see. And this one is $79.99, so it's £80. I'd rate this one out of 10, maybe an 8, because I would say that's pushing on for it. You're paying £20 extra just for a couple wooden shelves, like, come on. So I definitely would rate this maybe an 8 out of 10, just because of where they put it up, £20 extra just for a couple shelves. So we'll move on to the next cage. So the next cage is the Living World Green Eco Habitat. So I get so many people telling me, oh my god, this cage is so amazing, you should get it, it's one of the best cages you can find out there. I agree. I would recommend this cage any time of day. It is an amazing cage, but the problem I've got with it is so expensive. And so we're going to move on to dimensions now and the price, and we're going to talk about ratings. So the size medium is 98.5 length, 58.5 width and 61 centimetres height, and that is £140. So a decent sized cage. And then the large is 118.5 length, 78.5 width and 61 height. So that one is 180. I really like the cages, but the prices are so expensive. Paying like even 140 is enough for me. Paying like 180 is an incredible amount of money. And I think it would be one of these long-time cages that you really would want to use at least a couple times with different hamsters as a cage that you keep for years. So the medium size I would say is an 8 out of 10. And the large I would say is a 7 out of 10. What puts me off these cages is the sizing and everything is so good, but the price puts me off because the price is so expensive. But let's move on to the next cage. So the next cage is the Skyline Small Pet Terrarium Kerry. And basically this cage is 75 length, 45 width and 37 height. So it isn't a very big cage. This cage costs £80. So for the price you're paying for it, it isn't very big, it isn't very good. So I'm just going to be quick with this one. I would give this one a 6 out of 10. I would say you're paying way too much for how big the cage is. And first of all, I really don't think I think that cage just hits the bare minimum. But I'm not too sure. I can't remember exactly now, but I would rate that a 6 out of 10. Now, that nicely moves on to the second cage. So, the next cage is the Skylar. I think it's pronounced Falco Small Pet Cage. So this is the slightly bigger one of the other one, and it is 75 length, 45 width and 63 height. So it's just got a bigger base on it than the previous one, and that's basically all it is. It is £100. I would rate this cage maybe a 7 out of 10 because it just hits the bare minimum of floor space, and some Syrian hamsters don't actually like to dig loads and loads, and you don't need as much floor space as that. Moving on to the next cage. So the last cage is the cage that I have in front of me. So I am going to be screening up a photo because it kind of shows you a bit differently, as I haven't got many of the features the actual cage come with, as this cage comes with tubes, tunnels, a hidey house, some climbing stuff and stuff like that. I have all of that stuff, but I don't use it because it takes up too much room in this cage, space in the cage. So this cage is 80 length, 50 width and 50 height. This cage is £65 and it's called the Hamster Heaven 80 cage. So it's quite hard for me to rate this cage because so many people might be a bit like, you know, that's the cage you own, you're probably thinking. So basically I'd rate this cage a 7 out of 10, as I think it's a pretty decent cage, but I still would like a bigger cage. It isn't the biggest cage, it's a decent price actually. It's one of the cheapest cages for this size, but I'd rate it a 7 out of 10. Me and Teddy hope that you enjoyed this video and that your hamsters all have nice big cages like Teddy does. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.